Good morning. I'd like to call to order Boise Airport Commission meeting for August 6th, 2025, 9 o'clock. Maybe we have roll call.
Commissioner Bostiger,
Here.
Commissioner Carlson,
Here.
Commissioner Cunningham, Commissioner Custer Radloff, here. Commissioner Hughes,
Here.
Commissioner General Smith, Commissioner Vasconcelos, here. Commissioner Westerberg,
Here.
and Councilman Morales, here. Appears we have a quorum.
We have approval of the minutes for the June 4th, 2025 meeting. Do we have any questions or comments? Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
I'll second. All approved? Aye.
All right.
Minutes are approved. We have no unfinished business, so we will move right into Director Huff's report.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to be here. I hope everyone is having a wonderful summer so far. We have a full house today, and we have a lot of exciting things happening at the airport. I'm going to go through a number of them here today. So the very first thing that I wanted to talk about, is our consolidated rental car facility. And that is reaching, I would like to say that it's near completion. We still have several months left to go. However, we're making real progress and it's really taking shape. You can see that we have reached the highest level of the parking garage for both the facility and the customer facility areas. You can see that the connective walkway is really starting to take shape as well. The ramps are completed through level 5. So, and the exterior concrete masonry is also complete. So we're really excited to see this project come to fruition. Brett's been working on this very diligently. So a shout out to him. We're going to have some changes coming up because of some concrete pouring that we need to do, that we're going to change the employee walkway. So that will be the next phase. So there will be some changes that are coming in relation to this project, but I think everyone who lives here knows that construction is just the way it is, and we have to just adapt and modify. And so we have a good plan for that as well. But it's exciting to see that take shape. Speaking of changes, you probably, if you walked in through the second floor rotunda today, you probably noticed the new Tree Fort restaurant that is open pre-security. That was the first one that has opened. There are several others that are getting really close. We have Idaho Tap House, Waffle Me Up, and The Still, and Tourist Flights and Bites that are supposed to be opening later this month. And then up next, we will have Up and Away. It'll be the Flying M Coffee, which is where the River City Coffee was. Bardnay will be redone. Starbucks is where Einstein Bagels is. And then Wendy's is where Smash Burger is. So those are all coming. We also have a number of new concessions open on the retail and gift side, including on Lower C and on Concourse B, where we used to have the arcade. We have a new concession location there, as well as, if you've been out on B, a much smaller vending location on the B concourse. So it's looking really good.
What is that about the open house?
We are having an open house on August 21st. More info will be coming, but save the date. It'll be from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. We want to just showcase the new ones that are open. So we'll do a full open house when we have the full program is open, but this is just sort of a sneak peek of what's been done so far. And we're moving forward with our construction manager at risk, or construction manager general contractor as it's called in Idaho. As we've talked about this before, this is the project to build out Concourse A and do some changes and modifications to the terminal that we need to do. As we've talked about, we had a very rigorous process. We received 7 proposals, which is outstanding. We narrowed it down to the top 4. We had a wide representation on our selection committee. And we narrowed it down to Pencil Phelps is the proposed CMGC. And we are scheduling the contract for city council later this month. We'll be doing a workshop with council to go over some of the same information that you're seeing today. We'll go over with city council and probably talk a little bit more broadly about the concourse, because we don't do as frequent presentations to council as we do to you. So that'll probably have a little broader impact. But we intend to award pre-construction in August with a notice to proceed in September. And this is for pre-construction work while we're still in design. So we will use what's called a guaranteed maximum price, or a GMP. And then we will do that throughout the project as a task by task basis. So this is a draft schedule of what we're expecting to see. Moving forward, you can see we'll issue 3 different notices to proceed, 1 through December, and then January through March, and then beyond March of 27. We'll be doing a bond issue is our expectation as part of this project. And there will be 5 areas that we've identified for the guaranteed maximum price. 1 is the baggage handling system. 1 is a central utility plant, concourse A, of course, and then a terminal improvement phase, which will include potentially other improvements to our existing infrastructure, and then a second terminal improvement phase. So very exciting to see that come to fruition. And I think once we get the CMGC on board, we're really going to start to see some significant progress. So this shows some of the information that, and you have a hard copy of it. I won't read to you everything that's there, but this really gives a good idea of the work and the design work that we'll be undertaking this year. As we started the process, you may recall when we were talking about BOI upgrade, we had things that we had to do before we could start the concourse. We had to build the public garage. We had to build the employee garage. We had to build the consolidated rental car garage. And we knew we needed to build a concourse conceptually, but there are a lot of things that go into building a concourse that maybe we hadn't specifically identified. One of those is the fact that we have to replace our baggage handling system. It has reached its end of useful life. We were hoping that maybe that we could do this and then do baggage handling. It's not going to work that way. We have to do baggage handling first. Also, our utility infrastructure, we need to upgrade it in order to be able to bring on Concourse A. Instead of doing it after Concourse A, we're going to do it before Concourse A. So that will involve the central utility plant. And then we will get to the crown jewel, which will be Concourse A. So there's a little more detail in the handout for you because it is a little hard to read. We have started work already. This is the Concourse A apron. This is currently under construction. The paving is complete for phase 1A. We will begin phase 1B in mid-August, and we've started the coordination on that as well. A huge shout out to Renee because she has been coming in on the midnight shift, working literally night and day to make sure the project gets done. So a lot of work going into that. And then we have other work coming up on I want to talk about on the airfield. We have the East de-ice pad that's down by Customs. That will help facilitate de-icing operations in the winter, but it also will provide us another parking place for overnight aircraft. So that will be a great addition. And then we have built an access road that will go to corporate hangars that are being developed on the north side of the field. And also we have been upgrading some of the airfield access gates and the fencing. So that's on the air side. And then in front of the terminal on the front entranceway, we do have to replace a pipe, the drainage line. It is right along the entranceway. We will be closing that to 1 lane. There's no way around it, sadly. So we'll be replacing that from 12:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. We've done a traffic analysis and determined that is the lightest travel time. in terms of traffic is from 12:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. Do that, we'll make it as convenient as possible, recognizing that inconvenience is unavoidable. So. And then tomorrow is a big day here at the airport. I don't know if any of you have volunteered, but we will be conducting our triennial exercise. This is a requirement from the FAA that at least once every 3 years, we do a full-scale exercise of our emergency plan to include response by mutual responders. So obviously, Boise Fire and police will be responding, but also we'll be having mutual aid from other agencies, other fire departments, and paramedics. So we have over 60 volunteers. I don't know what the exact number is, but over 60 volunteers will be transporting people to the hospital. It takes a lot of work to put this on. I am not even going to begin to try to name everyone who has had a hand in this. Probably everyone has had. Oh, if you're on the airport team, you've probably had a role in this project. So thank you to the team for their work on that. And then I don't know if any of you had an opportunity to participate or enjoy any of the Hialdi events, but we had 30,000 people visiting Boise for Hialdi last week. Many of them came through the airport, and a huge shout out to Shauna and Jennifer for their work to create the welcome sign, the balloon. We had a number of VIPs and dignitaries arrive. We had some special events there, so that was really fantastic. And I heard just a wonderful amount of positive feedback from our community on that. Then our airport master plan, because even though all of these things are happening right now, we have to think about what is next. And we are looking at our master plan, which will guide us over the next 20 years. You may recall our last master plan laid out the projects that we're doing today. Our next master plan will do something very similar. We'll look at the airfield needs, the terminal needs, roadways, property, zoning. It's a very comprehensive review and roadmap for what we need to do over the next 20 years. We will update our passenger forecast, which I will show you some passenger numbers here in a minute, and you will see that our passenger numbers continue to exceed the forecast, but we'll continue to work on that. We had our first technical advisory committee meeting last week, I believe it was, and we'll be having stakeholder meetings. So this will be with specific stakeholder groups. So for example, we'll have a stakeholder group for GA. We'll have a stakeholder group for the airlines. We'll have a stakeholder group for travel and tourism. Meg's nodding her head because she's been through the process before. Many of you are serving on our technical advisory committee. Thank you for that, because it's incredibly important and valuable, and many of our tenants are serving on that role as well. So more to come, but it is exciting to see that process start, because that will help us identify what's next, because we've already done many of the projects that were in our last 20-year master plan. And we have some new employees and some promotions. So I do want to recognize Jeff, David, and Luke. I don't think that any of them are here, but they all have been promoted from operations specialists to seniors to operation leads. So it's really wonderful when we can promote people internally and they have an opportunity to grow in their careers right here. And then I don't know if JD is, oh, JD's hiding in the back. So JD has joined us on the engineering team as a project manager. He was previously with ITD. He is going to be, I believe, on our airfield team. And that really is going to help us as we move forward. We have some huge airfield projects coming up. But as you know, we've been focused on adding to our engineering and planning team just because of the breadth and the significance of all of the capital projects that we're undertaking. And so it's really great to have this position filled. And then I do want to recognize Mahi. Mahi is here. I see her. Mahi, raise your hand. Don't be shy. She joined us as an intern for the summer. I also started my career as an intern. I think probably many of you, when you were starting your careers, you probably had an internship here or there. So many of us has started as an intern, but she was an intern with our engineering team. So I want to recognize Beth for having the leadership and vision to set this up, and then Brett for being the supervisor and making sure that the daily tasks and oversight of Mahi was meaningful and that it gave her good experience. So she's majoring in aviation aerospace at Middle Tennessee University, and we're super happy that she could be here with us over the summer. The passenger numbers that I was talking about. So passenger travel continues to be up 8% for the year to date. I would note that our peers are seeing flat or even slight declines in most places. Obviously, there are exceptions everywhere. We're one of the exceptions, but we do continue to see passenger travel and passenger demand be strong. We were up 5% in June, so 8% year to date, but 5% in June. That made June our busiest month on record ever. So last year, or previously, our busiest month on record was July of last year. This is now, June was now our busiest month on record. We do not have the passenger numbers for July. I suspect that they will be strong. We will see if they are strong enough to beat June. So you're going to notice a change a little bit in the format of some of these slides. These are the slides that we share with you quarterly that give an overview of our air service and how we compare to our peers. We've changed the provider that we're getting this information from. We've consolidated all the work into one consultant. So you're going to, the format might look a little different to you, but the information is pretty much the same. So we always review what our top 25 markets are. They've stayed the same. The largest one largest increase was in Orlando, followed by Burbank, and then Portland and Phoenix. And then this measures shows you our number of seats, number of passengers, and then the green line is the load factor. You can see load factor has gone down slightly, even though passengers have gone up, just because we had a fair amount of additional capacity added to our market. And then this chart is a little bit, or this graph is a little bit of an eye chart here, but if you can see, this is the percentage of market share for each airline. So Southwest remained the market share leader by 1 point. So Southwest continues to be our largest airline, followed very closely by Alaska, and then followed by Delta, then United, then American, and then all the rest. So we do have 9 airlines serving Boise today, with Frontier coming back as well as Sun Country. And then you can see our forward-looking capacity. We are still showing some modest increases in capacity through the end of the year. Smaller percentages than what we've seen. But again, I think the airlines are trying to right size given the decrease that they're seeing system-wide. And then you can see this is the average seats per capita. The average is 2.8. Our seats are at 3.75. And interestingly, last year it was only at 3.4. I've seen a pretty significant increase in seats available. And then this is the average one-way fare. Our fare is right about the middle of the pack, which again, I'm sure consumers would love to have lower airfares, but airlines want to ensure that they can achieve a decent yield when they put equipment and investment in our community. So, and then when you look at the year-over-year comparison, we were tied for the 3rd highest percentage passenger increase. And then we had the 5th highest percentage increase in the number of seats when we compare it to our peer markets. And then as we're looking at our operating revenue, a number of increases. We've talked about most of these before. The increases in the terminal rent, the airline landing fees, and also the TNC fees are related to changes into contract terms where we've increased rates. And then on the expense side. Oh, I should have mentioned, and of course, parking revenue is up because more people are parking. So the parking increase is driven by an increase in parking use. The professional services increase in expense is specifically related to all of the work that we're doing on BOI upgrade. The structural and electrical plumbing, we've talked about that before, but just as a reminder, it has to do with the fact that we're replacing all of the water fountains and adding some coolant and some other things in the terminal. The increase in the power cost is not really an increase, it's that the expense had an offset last year because we had an incentive payment that was an offset for the expense last year. So last year it was artificially less. And then we just haven't been using as much fleet service this year. So those are the changes on that. And with that, I would be happy to stand for questions from the commission.
Okay.
Can you talk a little, excuse me, can you talk a little bit about the triax exercise and how much of that are we gonna be seeing ambulances going downtown or to St. Alphonsus? Like how much is actually gonna be seen kind of from the community or how much will just be within the airport area?
I think it probably will be invisible to most of the community. So the entire event is taking place on our third runway. So we will have an aircraft there, we will have vehicles staged there, and we will simulate the wait time for them to call because we don't want them, responding with lights and sirens for something that's not an emergency. We will be very clearly articulating that it is an emergency when we do a call. And I don't know, we had talked about whether or not they were actually transporting. I believe they will be transporting some patients because that is a requirement for the hospitals to exercise their plan. So not only does it help us because we have this requirement, but hospitals do have a requirement as well to do some transport. So we will be doing some transport, but not all. We will have, for those of you who are volunteering, you can look forward to, we'll have a couple of food trucks out there. We'll have some airport swag bags with some t-shirts. The weather should be decent. So it will be a very beneficial exercise.
It's great. Just to clarify, the transports that do happen, they wouldn't have lights. They'd be
No.
invisible. Yeah.
Madam Chair. Rebecca, as usual, your reports are excellent. They contain much more information than a common fellow like myself can digest quickly. But I have one question. I recall in the past, your reports have always included the runway closures, the date and time and a reason for the runway closure during the month. I wonder if there was a reason why you discontinued that or if there's a reason why you could start including that.
We would be happy to include that again. I think that was probably just an oversight. We can make sure that that gets on the next commission and we can also send an update to commission as well.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I looked for that. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep, we would be happy to include that. That's info that we have. I don't have it off the top of my head. I don't know. Marcus, would you like to give a comment on any runway closures? Would you mind standing or at least?
Sure. I just what would you like to know? Exactly for like the continuing length of it, or because right now the runway, the north runway 10 left is closed because of the Concourse A apron project and the tie-in to Alpha, taxiway Alpha and everything, using it as a back taxi route.
Do we have an estimate, Marcus, for when that will be open?
About another 60 days.
Thank you. I think that was probably the question.
Well, but monthly,
We will do it
like
monthly.
me, who gets questions from folks that
Sure.
fly in and out of here. Sometimes I get a question, why was the runway closed, or when is the runway going to be open?
Sure. So that's the reason why it's closed, is because of the Concourse A apron and the tie-in to taxiway Alpha. So that's the reason why it's closed for the tower to taxi around that area.
We'll make sure we include that in the next presentation, but I think you would be safe to say it will be closed for approximately the next 60 days, as Marcus said, for the runway, for the apron tie-in.
Rebecca, for my part, that's fairly easy to understand. It's in normal times, when there is a huge construction project, time to time, there's a runway closure.
Okay, so you're looking at when we're closing it for maintenance as well,
Yes.
you're asking about that, okay. I got it. Thank you for the reminder. We certainly can put that back on the calendar.
Director Huff, this may be a small thing, but I travel a lot, and I think with the new markets that your comp set, I still don't know which cities those are. Could you provide the commission
Yes.
with a list of those cities?
Yes,
Thank
okay, not everyone speaks airport through.
No,
right?
they're not the acronyms on the email.
Fair point,
Thank you.
we can make that change. Shauna, I could tell she just made a note of that.
All right, any other questions for Director Huff? Good, all right. Go on to commissioner comments. Commissioner Westerberg, would you like to start us off?
I'm just happy to be here.
Excellent. Happy New Year.
Happy to have Rebecca back. So welcome back.
Thank you.
I don't really have anything else.
Madam Chair, I'm also happy to be here. I wasn't here with you in June. I contributed to the increase in employments in June. First going to Montreal and then going to Edinburgh in Scotland, both amazing cities, wonderful travel. Last weekend, I traveled down to LA. I was fortunate to have Alaska Airlines direct flight, Boise to LA. What a wonderful thing that is, to not have to stop in Portland or Seattle and just go direct, both going down and coming back. I also had the opportunity for the first time to ride share in a Waymo, self-driving taxi, if you were. That was pretty cool, pretty amazing experience, the technology that's going on. And in order for that to be effective, they had to map the whole city area where Waymos operate. And the sensors are all programmed in so that they know every pothole, every bump, everything that you're coming. It was the smoothest ride I've ever had. It was quite incredible. I also had the opportunity to go to Tesla's Diner. So this is a new concept. It's only been open for 2 weeks and it's very sci-fi. And so when you charge your Tesla, you can actually order food from your car and somebody on roller skates will come out and deliver a burger or whatever. So, and big screens with Star Trek and old sci-fi movies. I mean, it's quite the experience. Anyway, it was really fun. It's amazing what's going on in looking into the future. I wanted to acknowledge JD. Welcome, JD. My son used to work at ITD, so I think you'll be very happy to be here. And it sounds like our intern has had a wonderful experience. So we wish you well. And we move on. Oh, one more thing. I'm on the art installation review committee, and we had 57 submissions from artists and reviewed all of those and narrowed it to 3. Which was not an easy task. And they are now in the process of finalizing their bigger scope design. And the group will review those on the 26th of August and make a selection and a recommendation to council.
And Commissioner, where is that going to be in the airport?
That is Conrad. So those the murals and the banners on Conrad.
Thank you. Just wanted to thank the team for all the work. The technical advisory committee meeting last week was very informational, and the team that they have leading that was impressive. So I'm looking forward to seeing the work that they do. There's a lot going on. A lot of people, I think, are juggling a lot of different roles on the airport. So thanks for all of your hard work.
I've got no comments at this time. I'm here. I'll just want to thank everyone that made how the guests feel welcome. The airport really is the front door for our city. And it was great to see so many people celebrating. I happened to pop in here to help get someone off on a rental car and was in line behind a band from the Basque Country. And fortunately, my father was with me and he speaks Spanish, so they had a great conversation. It was great to hear just how great how welcoming the city is, and the airport plays an important role in that. Want to thank everyone's efforts with Triax. I would be there, schedule allowed, and hoping that everything goes well, that we're able to learn and grow, that we're perform well. And then looking forward to serving on the technical advisory committee. Looking forward to getting through the slides that I missed last week while at a reunion in the mountains. But want to thank all the effort that's going into that. That's very important. And then I'll just want to say thank you again to Mahi for spending your summer with us here, and to Beth and Mark for doing that. Internships are a lot of work to be able to provide. You want to provide a great experience to that intern. And it's kind of on top of the roles that you already have. And so it's significant, but it's such a great investment. And so thank you for everyone that participated in that as well. Thank you for all the work that you did.
Well, since we haven't met since June, I have traveled a bit. We have had a very busy July with events. So I did notice, and it does not go unnoticed, the hard work that the airport and the welcoming spirit. I thank you for acknowledging that, because let me see, besides Ironman, we also had Hyaldi. I flew in I was flying out to Salt Lake the day after Ironman, and I was surrounded by Ironmen and women participants, which I was happy to see that there was actually, I heard the stat yesterday, that there was about 13% that flew in over 1,000 miles. It came from over 1,000 miles to come into the Ironman. And so that was a great kickoff for a 10-year lapse, and having that, having 2,200 participants. And then when I came back from Salt Lake, I flew in on Thursday, right when Hyaldi, and I really appreciated, I know we've talked about activations at the airport, and I loved seeing the music and the singing, and boy, were you guys busy. I mean, the terminals were hopping at about noon on Thursday. So just a big thanks to all that you do for the community. And so with that, we do have an airport staff report, a couple of airport staff reports. We could start with Shauna Samuelson on the air service update.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for having me. My name is Shauna Samuelson. I'm the Air Service and Marketing Manager at the Boise Airport. I'm going to give you just a quick update on air service, state of the industry right now, and how we are approaching air service development. So to start off, we will just level set with a little bit of background. Everyone knows what happened to air travel during the pandemic. And then recovering from the pandemic, airlines faced a lot of challenges. There were labor shortages, there were higher costs and supply chain issues, and all of those things contributed to increased operational costs. So we had many carriers that started to decrease capacity and really make an effort to increase profit on the routes that they flew. The carriers are also looking for new ways to add to their revenue. So if that's answering a consumer demand for more premium seating, or even maybe charging for a checked bag now. And this graph really shows what the airline pricing pressures, what we're feeling. In 2001, they were able to charge $164 for a one-way ticket. And here we are in 2024, and they are charging $216 for the same ticket. And adjusted for inflation, it should be closer to $293. So really looking for new ways to add revenue. Despite that, in 2024, our legacy carriers did manage to report a profit. ULCCs, ultra low cost carriers, did not. And they had a 6% operating margin. I attended a conference in January with the airlines, and they were all very optimistic about 2025. They were excited to start getting some aircraft deliveries and being able to program in new routes. And then we saw conditions change again here in 2025. So that can be attributed to growing economic uncertainty, changes in the geopolitical landscape. And we saw in a lot of other airports, not Boise, that the employment started to dip and soften. So once again, airlines are looking to manage their capacity and costs. And the conference I was just at in June, they were much more reserved, much more conservative about their forecast for 2025. And this shows you kind of that attitude. This chart is a monthly change in year-over-year numbers. So the blue bars are TSA passengers, so changes in people going through the checkpoint. And then the gray line is domestic seats. So you can see in the called out area in the black box at the end of December 25, they are assuming they will be about 2.1% down on seats available. So that shows our capacity shrinking. And now that was the nation in general. So now we can juxtapose it with Boise Airport. And this information is specific to our passengers and our capacity. And you can see our total seats in December 25 is up 4.2%. So airlines have definitely noticed that our employments have continued to grow. So this slide, I would love to take credit for what you just saw on that slide, but it's really because of our passenger growth. During the pandemic, we didn't fall down as far as many other airports did. And when we rebounded, we just kept growing. We rebounded quickly and we grew. And that has been our comparative advantage for our community. Looking at other airports, they're not seeing the same growth in passengers. And that growth can be directly attributed to our community's growth. During 2010 to 2023, our community increased 34%, while the national average is 8%. So we have increased demand for air service. And pair with that we are a very geographically isolated airport. So we do not have another commercial airport within 75 miles, which is unique for an airport of our size. And this really demonstrates how far people are coming to fly out of the Boise airport. This is a very faint map, but you can see the outline of Idaho, and the blue dots are the home locations for Boise Airport passengers. Red dots are Idaho Falls passengers' home locations. And you can see that people are really coming from across the region, Montana, Oregon, Nevada, Washington. We've got a very wide catchment area. And we've also, in addition to that, as airlines have increased their seats, our passenger numbers have increased. So we are filling the capacity that's being added, which is exactly what an airline wants to see when they're considering new routes. So Rebecca did a really good job touching on our air service that we have, but we have a very competitive marketplace, no dominant carrier that ultimately benefits the passenger in the end. And we've had some fun air service announcements. We've last week, Alaska added, they announced Ontario will be added to the Boise Airport, Ontario, California, to increase that coverage of the LA basin. That will be year round and one times daily frequency. And then Alaska, when Bozeman, Montana gets back on our calendar in October, they plan to keep it year round. So those are significant changes for our passengers. And no air service presentation is complete without a look at our nonstop destinations. So we currently offer 26 nonstop destinations, and that connects to approximately 350 easy one-stop destinations across the world. And easy is categorized by you stay on the same airline and your connection time is less than 4 hours. So good coverage for our passengers worldwide. And so we of course, the airlines all make their own business decisions, but my job as the air service development is to make sure that Boise stays top of mind, to make sure that I am constantly feeding them information about our community, providing anecdotal information that might help them add new routes, and just making sure that we're pitching routes that we feel like would be successful within their networks. So I have attended a few air service events. Most recently, I attended Jumpstart in June, where I had the opportunity to meet with 10 airline partners. The logos seen on the screen are who I was able to meet with. And my job there is to tell them about our passenger growth, understand how they feel that their routes are doing outside of Boise, talk about any potential assistance that they might need, and of course, pitch new routes, because that's what we want to start planting the seeds for them to consider new service. I also do regular calls with the airlines outside of a conference environment. So some airlines like to meet monthly, others quarterly, and it's really just to make sure that they remember Boise. Not on here as I do headquarter visits. Rebecca and I are trying to get out to 2 airlines before the end of the year. And I partner with community organizations, especially our business community, to try to understand where they feel the holes in our air service are and how we might be able to fill them. And last but not least is we offer an air service incentive plan for airlines. And that's really to reduce the risk that an airline might take on when they add a new route. So a little bit more about our air service incentive plan. It is built to prioritize target markets that our community is asking for, as well as add connectivity options on different airlines. So we currently have 8 target markets. You will recognize these. We talk about them a lot. They're all ones that we'd love to add in the very near future. We provide either reimbursable marketing expenses, as well as cost abatement for the airlines when they start these routes. And then, of course, what I love to do is add a new nonstop destination or welcome an airline, but air service improvements can be much more nuanced than that. They can go from upgauging an aircraft to increased capacity. Alaska's recently upgauged aircraft on quite a few of their routes that they serve out of Boise to really serve more passengers, an increase in frequency on existing routes, and even small changes like improvements to schedules so that they're able to hit those peak connection banks easier and just make it a better traveling experience for our passenger. And that is what I have prepared for you. I'm happy to take any questions.
Madam Chair. Does Alaska's merger with Hawaiian Airlines mitigate having Hawaii on that target list?
That has been an interesting development. So we are now, Alaska and Hawaii, they're planning their network together. They're operating as 2 separate brands, but they have one network essentially. And we have been talking to them. It doesn't mitigate it, but it's still delayed our conversations on Hawaii a little bit as they get used to the combination of the 2 companies.
Thank you so much for all of your work. This is a really great update. Obviously, there are barriers for international travel, infrastructure costs that would prevent that. But outside of those barriers, do you have a pulse from industry on future desires with Boise and international destinations?
We have had a few bites on potential Mexico flights. And then I've also, you may have seen, I talked to WestJet at the last conference, and we were specifically talking about Calgary, an airport that people can pre-clearance before coming to Boise. So we haven't had nearly enough interest to look at investing in customs to be able to start adding those international flights.
Didn't we used to have a flight direct to New York?
We did. So that was on JetBlue, and that was discontinued probably a couple of years ago.
Second question, any chance of getting a direct flight to DC?
We are trying. I pitched it to 2 different airlines this last jumpstart.
So, Donna, if I can add, because DC is on our list of priority destinations. And there are multiple airports in the DC region, but DCA is slot controlled. So unless Congress passes legislation that it will allow additional slots into DCA, we cannot get a direct flight to DCA. We could get a flight to Dulles, or we could get a flight to Baltimore. But at this point in time, we cannot get a flight to DCA unless there is literally action by Congress.
And we pitched Baltimore and Dulles.
And we've pitched DCA and we've pitched changing the slots as well.
Yes.
But the last time they changed slots, the slots went to, I don't remember exactly, but it was Vegas, Seattle, LA, San Diego, and San Antonio. So they added 5 more slots and that's where they went to DCA. Boise was not on the list.
We're certainly one of their largest unserved markets beyond the perimeter.
2 questions. Did you mention Calgary, and is that what WestJet, you're talking to WestJet about?
That was the specific route we talked to them about. With the kind of adjustments that Canadian travelers have had with their interest in traveling to the US right now, they weren't too quick to be interested in considering an addition like that, but it's one that we will continue to talk to them
I
about.
could see that, but I'd love to see a Boise, Calgary.
I'm sure you
Nice.
would.
And the other question is, if we did have a nonstop to Hawaii, what island is that likely to go to?
Our current incentive structure is that we would provide the highest incentive amounts for any Hawaiian destination. I think Honolulu is probably the one we would anticipate.
Thank you.
Sean, I just have one, for the incentive structure, is that common amongst all your peers, or are we kind of competitive, I guess, in what they offer? And
So that is one thing that I've been asking other airports about. Our incentive plans are very common. Ours is structured so that we only provide incentives to new airlines or new unserved routes. And that is maybe not the most common approach. Many airports reward any additional service that's added, even to serve destinations. We've chosen not to do that at this point, but it is something I'm looking to get a temperature on. But what I have heard from airlines is that the incentive is really they're going to program the route that they feel is going to be successful, that the incentive is just kind of icing on the cake.
thank you so much.
Thank
All
you.
great information. Thanks, Shauna. Okay, and our next report is with Ian Snyder on minimum standards.
No, we had minimum standards. I'm just gonna take a moment to introduce the property team. Many of you know, but many of you may not know. So I'd like to introduce Marty Mendenhall. She's been with us over almost 3 years. She handles our non-aeronautical and the rental cars, so she's been very, very, very busy this year and will continue to be so till that Conrack is going. And then I'd like to introduce Dave Gahn. He's been with us over 2 years, and he handles our terminal tenants, and then he was helping with the airfield. And thank you very much, Dave. And then Brady DeYoung, who handles now, he's been with us a little over 7 months. It'll be a year in December. So he is now taking over the airfield. He's probably going to help us with the military leases as well. So some of you have dealt with them, but I just wanted to introduce them. And then, of course, Shauna on our team, and then Jennifer, you all know, who does our marketing communications. So I could not survive without them. So we are updating our minimum standards for commercial aeronautical activities. And in fact, we updated the title. And
So we're reviewing proposed updates to the minimum standards for the Boise Airport. A clean draft has been provided to you along with a summary of the changes. The updates have been developed by airport staff, reviewed by our legal team, including a contract attorney who specializes in minimum standards. The standards are not to be considered all-inclusive. They help us provide reasonable and not unjustly discriminatory access to all operators and are intended to ensure we not allow any operator an exclusive right to conduct any given aeronautical activity. And then it gives you examples of commercial activities. And again, that's not an exclusive list, but those are what are considered commercial activities. So as far as I can tell, the minimum standards were initially adopted by City Council in 1998. I was here when they were updated in 2001, and that was when Turbo Air became a fixed base operator. They were previously a subtenant of Boise Air Service, which became Jackson's. And they set up their own FBO. So we revised the minimum standards at that time. Basically, the FBO requirements were just basically clarified a little bit more. And then, so it's been a very long time since they've been updated. The update was pretty much driven by the RFP that we have on the streets right now for some GA development on the airfield. The issue that I had initially was the insurance was very lacking. It was the old Idaho tort $500,000 was the minimum insurance requirement. So we did update those. So a more detailed summary of changes is provided, and we will provide those out when we post these changes because there was enough formatting, updating changes that a red line was just too complicated. So we have a summary of changes and then we have the clean version. They will apply to existing operators to the greatest extent possible. We were very careful. We wanted to make sure we didn't exclude any existing operators. This was not meant to, it was just meant to update. And so then as they're permitted under their existing agreement, anybody operating on the airport has to have some form of written agreement, whether it be a lease, permit, or a sublease. So we've expanded and modernized the document structure. We've added mandatory compliance with environmental regulations, security protocols, and safety management systems. So I'd like to thank operations and Adam from Beth's team, who's our environmental manager, that they help provide language. And then we introduced a waiver process for the application under specific conditions. We clarified a towing and emergency aircraft recovery requirements for the FBOs, and then of course updated the insurance. But again, there is kind of a list of what we've done that have been provided. So our next steps are going to be to post the updated minimum standards online for review and comments, minimum of 30 days, and then we'll send it to City Council for approval. What we will also do is we'll email out our existing operators that we know of, including subtenants, and give them a link and let them know that the minimum standards are being updated. So it's a really quick, brief presentation just to let you know that it's out there, provided to you. So if the commission ends up after reviewing it, having any questions, comments, or concerns, please reach out to me. And again, we'll once we post these online, we'll have a minimum 30-day comment. Any questions?
No, here. It's good to be alerted to this, just in case. What are the anticipated concerns or objections?
I don't
You think are the
anticipate
biggest? Okay.
With that said, we just don't know. This minimum standards has been released to all the FBOs already as part of an addendum to the RFP. So it wouldn't be a big shock to them. And again, we were very careful. There is a site requirement in order to be a fixed base operator of 5 acres, and we made sure they all have 5 acres so they weren't surprised. I will, of course, I know Jen is here from one of the flight clubs, and then we have some flight schools that we'll be sending them out to see if they have any comments. You know, maybe many of them weren't even aware there were minimum standards, so it's good for them to get a chance to comment.
What's the timeline? When will the standards go online for the 30-day?
Could probably do that this week.
And can you provide an update on the RFP process for the GA stuff?
Yes, Commissioner Bussinger. As part of this minimum standards, we did delay the opening of the proposals. So we extended the question period. We also had a lot of questions about the taxiway Sierra wingspan capacity, weight capacity. So we had to do some investigations into that. And so we extended the period of time for questions so that we could get the final addendum out, and that the proposals are due August 12th, next week. So it's just kind of like Christmas Day. You're not sure you're going to get any proposals. You're hoping you'll get a lot of proposals, but so we should have more information on that after the 12th.
And what happens if the FBOs or flight schools or whatever don't like this? Are you accepting proposals to changes, or is this?
It's intended. I don't expect changes, but we would definitely listen to comments or concerns. The reason being, this is a pretty standard document, and so it's industry standard. It's just more updated. So, for instance, we had how many tie downs you were required to have, and we got rid of that completely and just said you have to have apron tie down space in order to accommodate your operation. So in a way, it's a little more simplified, but definitely the intent is to have it out there in case there are any questions or concerns. So I wouldn't say it's set in stone.
So I haven't obviously had a chance to review all these changes and things, and obviously you have. Would you say of the current operators, most of them are already meeting the new standards, or
Yes.
are they?
Any more questions? Thank you so much. Update. Okay, so now we're at the time in our meeting where we're open for questions and comments for Commissioner and Airport staff. I just want to remind everyone that discussion per issue not to exceed 5 minutes, and meeting time constraints or requests for final action may require deferral for future meeting. That said, is there anyone that would like to the podium with a question? Someone online? Oh, yes.
It's not a question, but
Please, yes.
right, so the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Mine began here at Boise Airport, and I'm forever grateful for the team, engineering, operations, facilities maintenance, everybody else who was a big part. I wish to thank everyone, and I can definitely say that I did learn a lot more than what the textbook could potentially teach. And I'm forever grateful to Rebecca for everything, for having me here, and everybody who inspired and mentored my journey. Thank you, everyone. And I can never forget this journey. I hope to return back and work with you all sometime in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. No one online?
Okay, seeing no more questions or comments, take a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chairman, I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everyone.